Okay, let's dive right into this explainer by setting the stage for a massive financial reality check in the nursing world. For years, we've all seen those flashy headlines about travel nurse pay, right? But today, we're stripping away the recruiting hype to look at the actual, verified data for 2026. So, the absolutely crucial point we're starting with is this enormous number, $35,500. And let me be really clear here. This isn't some bloated gross pay estimate to get your attention. This is a meticulously calculated net pay difference, meaning this is the actual cash left in your pocket after taxes. And honestly, here's what makes that number so staggering. When we evaluate the exact same job in the exact same location, so in this case, an ICU register nurse working in Ohio, the travel nurse walks away with a drastically higher take-home pay. We're literally talking about the exact same nurse, the same state, and the same specialty, yet the financial outcome is completely different. Here is exactly how we're going to unpack that counterintuitive number. We'll cover the $35,500 hook, the tax-free stipend structure, national and state baselines, 4 hidden costs of travel, our 6-step decision playbook, and finally, the strategic jam. Let's get into it. Section 1, the $35,500 hook. Let's do a quick financial autopsy here to see exactly where the discrepancy lies. A staff nurse grosses about $1,750 a week, while the travel nurse grosses $2,200. Now, most people just subtract those two and think, oh, the difference is $450. Actually, scratch that. That is entirely the wrong way to look at it. Because 100% of the staff nurse's pay is taxable, their estimated weekly net drops to around $1,330. But for the travel nurse, the estimated net is a whopping $2,040. Over a 50-week working year, that staff nurse nets roughly $66,500, while the travel nurse nets about $102,000. Section 2, the tax-free stipend structure. To understand the engine driving these massive numbers, we absolutely have to dismantle the myth that travel nurses simply earn a higher hourly rate. The linchpin of this entire financial advantage is the tax home rule. To legally unlock those non-taxable stipends for housing and meals, a travel nurse must maintain a genuine permanent residence. Basically, you have to be duplicating your living expenses, meaning you're paying rent or mortgage back home while simultaneously paying for a place to stay on your assignment. This IRS compliance rule is the absolute foundation of the travel pay structure. Check out the breakdown of that $2,200 travel package. Only about $800 of it is a taxable hourly wage. The other $1,400, that's made up of non-taxable housing and meal stipends. So what's crazy is that the travel nurse's taxable hourly rate is actually often lower than the staff nurse's. But by legally avoiding federal and state income taxes, plus Social Security and Medicare taxes on that $1,400 portion, well, it creates a massive net win for the traveler. Moving on to Section 3, national and state baselines. Zooming out to the national level using Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the median annual pay for a staff RN sits at $93,600. For travel nurses in 2026, it ranges from $104,000 to well over $130,000. So the travel advantage is incredibly clear on a macro scale. But hey, keep this crucial caveat in mind. That massive travel figure assumes you are grinding near continuously with minimal gaps between assignments. If you take 3 months off a year, that annual baseline shifts dramatically. And geography dictates pretty much everything here. Notice how the advantage is just massive in lower-paying states like Texas, Florida, and Ohio. In these states, the staff baseline is lower, making the tax-free travel stipends incredibly powerful. But look at California. While the gross pay is the highest, the extreme state taxes and cost of living heavily eat into those top-tier headline rates. It makes the actual net advantage way more moderate than what recruiters might suggest to you. Section 4, 4 hidden costs of travel. We really have to ask ourselves, what do those flashy $3,000 a week recruiting billboards actually hide? Because while the gross weekly numbers look incredible on a job board, they're kind of an illusion. The net reality requires us to deduct the very real expenses of living this lifestyle. These 4 hidden costs are the reality checks that directly subtract from that $35,500 gap we just talked about. 1, you have to maintain your tax home. 2, you have to account for the gap periods when you aren't working. 3, you have to replace employer benefits. And 4, you have to think about your Social Security and retirement. Let's run the math. If you're paying, say, $800 a month to maintain an empty apartment just to keep your stipends legal, well, that is $9,600 a year right off the top. Plus, staff nurses get paid for 52 weeks a year. But if you're a travel nurse taking just 2 weeks off between every 13-week contract, you're only working 48 weeks a year. That alone is an 8% cut to your annual gross income. The math changes drastically when you factor the stuff in. Now, please pay close attention to this one because it is a massive warning. You only pay into Social Security on your taxable wage. Remember our Ohio nurse? They're only contributing to Social Security on that $800 a week, not their full $2,200 package. Underfunding your Social Security during your high-earning years requires serious, disciplined, intentional investing to offset. You have to fund your own retirement with that extra net pay, or you are definitely going to fall behind long-term. Section 5. The 6-Step Decision Playbook. Before running your own math, understand that travel nursing makes the absolute most financial sense when specific conditions are met. First, you need an affordable tax home. Second, you should ideally be in a high-demand specialty like ICU or ER. Third, you must commit to minimizing gaps between your contracts. Fourth, having a multi-state compact license maximizes your options. And above all else, you need high financial discipline. By following these exact 6 steps, you can strip away the recruiter's headline and uncover the true financial reality of any offer. Step 1, calculate your true staff net pay. Step 2, demand a full breakdown from the agency, taxable versus stipend. Step 3, subtract what your tax home actually costs to maintain. Step 4, calculate everything based on 48 weeks of work, not 52. Step 5, subtract what you'll pay out of pocket for health insurance and retirement matching. And Step 6, compare those highly accurate, hyper-realistic numbers. But remember, while the math is critical, it isn't the whole shebang. Career advancement, family stability, and workplace relationships often dictate whether a nurse stays permanent or travels. If you value deep workplace bonds and a clear management ladder, staff nursing wins. But if you want total location flexibility, schedule control, and you can handle the admin burden of constantly moving, travel nursing is incredibly rewarding. Finally, Section 6. The strategic gem. Let's wrap up this explainer with the single most vital insight you should take away today. The travel nursing pay advantage is not a higher hourly rate. It is a tax structure. Understanding exactly how this tax structure works and what erodes it is the absolute foundation of every smart career decision in this field. If you fundamentally view travel nursing as making more per hour, you will miscalculate your expenses, you'll likely underfund your retirement, and you might accidentally violate IRS tax home rules. The advantage is entirely structural. So, I've got to leave you with this question to chew on. Run your own numbers through this playbook tonight. Is your current career structure actually maximizing your net take-home pay, or have you just been comparing illusions this whole time? Thanks for joining this explainer, and keep learning.